On Halloween night, Michael Myers escaped from Smith's Grove Sanitarium and went on a bloody rampage. After he was shot by Dr. Sam Loomis, Michael disappeared, and the only survivor of his killing spree, Laurie Strode, was rushed to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. Michael is still on the loose, having survived 6 gunshots, and he is now hunting the one that got away in the only decent sequel in the original franchise canon, 1981's Halloween 2. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And I'm Austin Johnson.
And this is Filmgazm. Happy Wednesday, listeners. And if you are listening to this on Saturday, happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween week. Yes.
Welcome to episode 108, Halloween 2. Last year around this time, we covered the original 1978 Carpenter classic Halloween. This year, we start a new tradition by covering Halloween 2. Next year, it'll be Halloween 3, then 4, and 5, and so on. What better time to show Michael Myers some love than on his favorite holiday?
Hell yeah. No, this is perfect, right? The tradition will go on for as long as we can, as long as they keep making Halloween movies.
Yeah, and it's looking pretty indefinite right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get into things, I've got one update for you on the Rewind, and it is timely, as it updates our 9th bonus on Hocus Pocus.
Hell yeah.
Bette Midler recently confirmed that she, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker are all returning as the Sanderson sisters for a Hocus Pocus sequel on Disney+. Yay!
Fantastic. People returning. Yes, that's good.
That's really cool. It's probably going to suck. I don't care.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need a sequel. Hocus Pocus is pretty compact.
No.
But,
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I just off topic, I watched about half of Halloween Town yesterday.
Dude, what? I watched all of that like 3 days ago.
I fucking can't anymore. It's bad. It is so bad.
Listen here, though. The DComs, the Disney Channel original movies, are not good anymore. As you get older and you rewatch them, you're like, oh, Luck of the Irish. Here we go. Shit. Full Court Miracle. Shit. Even Steven's movie. Even shit. These movies, they don't age well. Yikes. And Halloween Town is definitely in that group. Sad to say. But it's cool that Disney Plus just has all that shit, right?
It is cool that they've literally just dumped everything but Song of the South onto their platform. Just like everything except, the most racist film ever made by a children's entertainment center. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is weird that they're putting disclaimers in front of Peter Pan and Dumbo and saying hey, look, we were a little racist in the 50s. But Song of the South, they're like, no.
Yeah, that one's annexed.
God, one day I'm gonna find a VHS or a film reel somewhere in some bookstore, and I'm gonna watch that movie.
Yeah, and we'll make an episode out of it.
Do you remember the Disney Channel original movie where Bryan Cranston stole Santa Claus's sleigh and used it to rob houses?
I don't. I would love to know the name of that. I do. I remember a lot of them. Like Xenon, and those kind of obviously the first High School Musical, those kind of popular ones. But I don't know. I have watched some of them, and yeah, they're so bad. Like Going to the Mat, and what's that one where that guy's like a merman? I don't know. It's absurd.
Well, Halloween Town, just all 4 movies are, I want to be a witch. And Mom's like, no, you can't be a witch, even though you just spent 3 movies being a witch.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing for an hour and a half. Yeah.
I walked out. I was I bailed on my family. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. And they were all like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I got business.
This is happening. Yeah. I understand. I watched Trolls tonight with Willow, and she responds to it crazy. It's pretty amazing. It's not a very smart movie, but I understand for a 1.5-year-old because the colors are so vibrant. And that was weird. Is Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick as the main voices? I hadn't seen it before, so yeah.
I'm gonna wait till I have kids to marathon the Halloween Town movies again.
Yeah, definitely wait for a lot of those movies, Wait till you have a kid where at least their perspective, they're like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. So
Johnny Tsunami is still okay. Oh, sorry.
Johnny Tsunami. From the title alone, I'd check it out.
Yeah, Johnny Tsunami is still okay. The first one is, I'm not saying it's good or anything. I'll stop there.
So obviously Halloween, major influence on our love of horror, big monumentous film for the genre.
Movies.
For movies itself, for Carpenter's career, like that movie opened a lot of doors. And then we got Halloween 2. Do you remember your first time with Halloween 2?
I honestly can't. But I did watch it. Obviously, I watched it a couple nights ago, and then I was able to watch it. I think, it was 2 years ago, whenever Halloween 2018 came out. I kind of watched a few of those, and it's just redundant as hell. It's just 3 years after that, what I would think is a masterpiece for horror, slasher, and again, I think film in general. I'm just a sucker for it, and I know you are too. It's one of my favorite 70s movies. And then just 3 years later, and this is classic for what horror. It's one of the things you can kind of poke at it is like, man, they don't know when to stop in this genre, especially in the 70s and 80s, and it's just bam, 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 make them, keep making them, and it gets really convoluted, really confusing. It makes it very hard for the fans and the audience to know what's canon, what isn't, what's real, what's really happening. And I don't like that. So I very much prefer to just forget about everything and go with the 78, the 2018. But I know each one has its charms, but that's not really what I come to movies for like little charms, right? I want to see a good product altogether. And this one in Halloween 2 is not it.
Well, back in the day, really, like in the heyday of horror, the 70s, the 80s, and a lot in the 90s too, and even a bit today, horror has always been a genre that, in producers' eyes, has always been more about profitability than anything else. They have always seen, if you have one hit, you have 13 potential hits.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if the story's good. It doesn't matter if the acting's good. All that matters is asses in seats.
Yes.
And Halloween fell prey to that too. Big time.
Yeah. Sucks, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And honestly, you know what? This one could have been worse. And as we've seen in the Halloween franchise, it got worse. Yeah,
it gets, again, convoluted and just so much nonsense.
Yeah. And again, like, I think we talked a bit about this in our first episode on our first Halloween. Loomis is a terrible fucking therapist. Like, just
awful.
God.
Awful. About as bad of podcasters as those two folks in Halloween 2018. Jesus Christ.
At least Loomis understands, we got to kill this thing. Those two podcasters were like, maybe there's a human being in there that we can speak to.
Yeah, that we can get to speak on our podcast, idiots.
So Halloween 2 was a no-brainer for the producers after the huge success of Halloween, but nobody on the creative side of things had any interest in a sequel. Everyone had moved on. At the time, John Carpenter, franchise creator, was busy developing The Fog, epic ghost movie. And I can't wait till we do that one. And despite wanting nothing to do with it, Carpenter and his then production partner, Deborah Hill, ended up writing the screenplay, mostly for money. And Carpenter just hated having to do anything for this. Like, he sat in front of a computer, or not a computer, typewriter, and just like, fuck, what now? Like, Halloween was good enough. What else could I possibly milk from this? And I love that Carpenter was like, why? Everyone else is like, we got to do another one. And he's like, do we?
You sure about that?
My God. Jamie Lee Curtis is wearing a wig the whole time because she was, she had a shorter haircut. She was moving on. She was in The Fog. And
yes,
everyone was just like, Halloween 2 needs to happen. The producers were like, did you see those dollar signs? We want more of that. My God. Carpenter ended up conceiving the plot twist of Laurie and Michael being siblings as a way to try and siphon more potential out of a movie that he felt had no more story to tell. Which is funny that he thought that at part 2 of a franchise that has like 8 entries in the original canon and 2 remakes and 1 soft reboot with 2 more on the way. And part 2 is when he's like, I don't think there's anything left here. There's nothing in the tank. That's
fucking
horror
done.
for you.
I've got nothing.
Carpenter was very much a one and done kind of guy. Like he moved on to the next thing. He could have easily done a sequel to like Assault on Precinct 13 or Big Trouble in Little China, but the only one he really went for is Escape from LA, and we saw how that turned out.
Yeah. I think I'm guilty of I had just said like Little Charms are not for me, and Escape from LA is definitely one of those movies that just has a few charms. Most of it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, where else can you see Kurt Russell surf Los Angeles with Peter Fonda?
Exactly. And the basketball, come on.
Full court, over the shoulder shot that he actually did. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's some gold.
Oh, so with Carpenter kind of locked into doing something with this, he felt, let's grab a 6-pack and fight our way through this screenplay. And he wrote like 4 drafts, ended up with what we got. And he had resistance every step of the way. We have Rick Rosenthal as our director, because Carpenter, they tried, and he's like, fuck no.
Stop.
I will write your movie, but I'm not sitting in that chair. And he doesn't do anything special with it. Rick Rosenthal. He would later return to direct 2002's Halloween Resurrection as well, the one where Busta Rhymes takes down Michael Myers with a kung fu kick. So I don't think this guy really knew what he was talking about when it came to Michael Myers.
Which is the key to the whole thing, right? It's like, if you understand this nameless, faceless monster, then you understand what Halloween can be. And clearly that it's not there. There's just no cohesion.
The best thing about 78 Halloween and 2018 Halloween is that they understood that in the end, Michael Myers is just a man. But he's a man who won't stop. He can be stopped, but he fucking won't. He's not he's not a demon. He can't survive, a gunshot point blank to the head. It's just, I don't like that they basically turned him into, Jason. He's basically Jason with a different mask at this point.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to catch some fucking flack for that one, but I don't care.
Those are the kind of takes you need to have. People are going to disagree, but fuck it. People also disagree with the who directed Poltergeist, right? So
yeah, Spielberg, right? Of course.
Yeah. That's how I see it. Yeah.
So, the reason that the production team wanted a gorier, more aggressive Halloween movies because Friday the 13th had just come out, and it was a big hit, and it is super gory. So obviously, producers are like, well, that was gory, and that's why it was a success. So make this gory, and then we'll have a success.
Exactly.
I don't think studios have never in the history of Hollywood ever understood correlation and causation. That's not why Friday the 13th was a hit. Well, it was a little bit. And I don't have time to unpack all that because this is the Halloween 2 episode, not the Friday the 13th episode.
One day.
I think it's kind of interesting we made 100 episodes without ever touching Elm Street or Friday the 13th.
Yeah, well, the book has so many movies, literally thousands. So, there's a lot of movies that we haven't touched that I'm sure would surprise us. But at the same time, when you look at that book, you're like, oh, okay, I see. You're talking about 100 episodes. Whatever. That's pennies out of the scheme, the grand scheme of things. With all the films we are able to do, which is why this probably will never end. Sorry.
So Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasence, and Charles Cyphers reprised their roles as Laurie Strode, Sam Loomis, and Lee Brackett, respectively. If you want a
Yep.
small dive into their careers, check out our Halloween episode from last October. We went pretty in depth on those guys. To replace Nick Castle as Michael Myers, as Nick Castle had moved on to screenwriting and directing, he, I believe, co-wrote Escape from New York. Stuntman Dick Warlock was cast. His real name is Richard Lemming, because there's no way in hell his real name was Dick Warlock.
Dick Warlock. Oh man. Well, or maybe he was, and his dad is like, my last name's Warlock. I'm gonna give my son a badass name, and then he just made a weird decision.
After last week's Stefan Bordeaux, I'm noticing like a fucking pattern here.
Oh God.
Weirdly chosen named people. Dick Warlock and his son Lance Warlock. Not making that up.
Stephen Jeffries, Stefan Bordeaux. Absolute legend. All of that is true. What the hell?
Yeah. So Dick Warlock is kind of a legend in the stunt community. He's a stuntman. And some of the other films he did stunt work on include The Thing, The Dead Zone, Christine, Commando, Big Trouble in Little China, Spaceballs, Pumpkinhead, Child's Play 2 and 3, Casino, and Spider-Man. And I left out quite a lot. This guy was just, tons of cult films. He was, getting car crashes, falling off buildings, lighting himself on fire, just crazy shit. Unbelievable. Nothing but respect for the stunt guys here on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And over on our other show, Oscar Sunday, it's like a thing that we are just confused, just like a lot of fans are confused why there's not an award for that, why there hasn't been since like the 70s. Just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, for that level of commitment to your job to literally like drive, in front of a train, fall off a building, get shot. It's fucking crazy. Like, if anybody deserves some gold, it's those guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
And other than Dick Warlock, I can't name a single one. That's sad.
Dick Warlock. That's a good one to know.
Damn straight, Dick Warlock. I'm just picturing like, I don't know, it'd be hilarious if like after stunt work, he became like an attorney or something and just had like his own private practice, Dick Warlock, attorney at law.
Yeah,
I would watch the hell out of that show.
Warlock and Associates.
Warlock and Associates. Oh my God. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we have our new cast, pretty underwhelming, if I do say so. Lance Guest plays Jimmy, the paramedic who is inexplicably loyal to Laurie after meeting her for 5 seconds. Some of his other film appearances include The Last Starfighter, Jaws: The Revenge, and a few episodes of Knots Landing. And nobody really...
Yowza! God.
Yeah, there's no Jamie Lee Curtis, like, Diamonds in the Rough in Halloween 2. Pamela Susan Shoop plays Karen, the nurse who gets naked in a hospital therapy bath and boils alive for it. Shoop has done a lot of TV work before and since Halloween 2, and only one other film, 1977's Empire of the Ants. So,
my favorite. Yeah. What a great film. Empire of the Ants. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. They were just grabbing whoever they could get at the audition who looked relatively teenage and was willing to get naked. Pretty much what they wanted.
Oh, man.
Hunter Von Leer plays Deputy Gary Hunt, who takes charge of the investigation after Brackett goes home to grieve. Some of Von Leer's more notable roles include History of the World Part 1 and a lot of 80s TV. Yeah, a lot of TV people.
A lot of cocaine, a lot of TV work.
Yeah. And this ain't, post HBO Sopranos level TV. This is,
No. That's why I say a lot of cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Peyton Place and Knots Landing and LA Law and shit. So Dallas.
These are the shows that are like it's a block schedule where bam, bam, they film back to back to back, bam, 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 get it done, put them out on the TV for people to watch, and it's just shit.
And I'm not talking starring role. I'm talking, killer of the week. That's the caliber we got here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just, it's not wrong to point that out.
Yeah.
Leo Rossi plays Bud, the douchebag EMT who also gets naked in the hospital therapy bath. Rossi is a character actor who would have gone on to appear in such films as The Accused, Maniac Cop 2, Analyze This, and Gotti, among others. So he's arguably the person with the biggest career, but he's not exactly leading in those movies. He's like, aggressive Italian thug number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. He is definitely the third or fourth guy in every roster. And is that saying a lot if that's the guy who's gone on to do that's kind of sad to do the most.
Yeah, if that's your golden boy, maybe it's time to reevaluate this film.
Yeah, well, we are right here, and the jig is up. It's not very good.
Not very good. There are really 2 good movies in the Halloween franchise, and it's the first one and the last one.
I love them both. They're both 2 of like my top 100 favorite movies ever. Like they're in that. I love them, and just there's nothing in between. There's nothing really in between for me.
Dude, the gap is so wide. It's like 78, 2018, and there's like 2 football fields, and Halloween 2 is right there.
It's not a gap. That's a fucking like chasm of space. You got
the fucking Grand Canyon is between those movies. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is a canyon of space. That's right. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, so Halloween 2 was intended to be the end of Michael and Laurie's story. It ends pretty definitively. And every film after it was going to be a different anthology movie set on Halloween night. That's why Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, famously has nothing to do with Michael Myers. This was going to be Carpenter's plan, but Halloween 3 was such a failure, and everyone was like, where the hell is Michael? That they decided to go back to formula in part 4, and they never stopped. And honestly, 3 sucked too. 3 was awful. That might be my least favorite, and I've seen the Busta Rhymes one.
Oh Jesus, yeah, no, I think it's on par with this one here. They're both just not very good. But I don't hate either of them. But the anthology idea, I can get behind.
Yeah.
If it sounds stupid, like if it's done right, but you have the title of Halloween, right? This encapsulating thing that everyone all over the world really can see and understand right away what it is. And then with that, you have all these alleyways you can go with, the holiday, and on this holiday, this happened in this city, and on this holiday, this happened in this city. And had there been a room of guys that, had some real creative juices going, this could have been one of the coolest, franchises, not just horror franchises ever, if they played the cards right, maybe did a movie every 5 years or something, right? And just kind of played their cards right, found a good director who's willing to get on board, and find a writer who's willing to come up with a new idea. And that could carry on to today, imagine the torch being passed through the Halloween, franchise. Instead, it's just kind of passed in the oddest way possible over and over again, with these strange gaps throughout. And then the gap in quality is so huge. It's quite frustrating with what on paper, if it's 1978 and you and I are like, oh man, like look at this idea. A Halloween movie, we're going to open up with this banger, with this crazy good villain, and then we're going to have an anthology series to follow with a bunch of movies. That sounds great, but they just didn't take care of it one bit right from the get-go. And that's why we're talking about this one, and then next year we'll talk about Season of the Witch, and we'll keep it moving that way. But fuck, man, it's frustrating what was there and what the potential is. It's frustrating.
Well, I think the biggest mistake was making two Michael Myers movies in the at first, because
Yeah,
people are
back to
gonna
back. Yeah.
because with three, people are gonna expect another Michael movie. They're gonna want
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
if Season of the Witch had been Halloween 2, we never would have had this problem, and I think it would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
But dollar signs.
Yep. Yep. It sucks, man. It sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Hindsight's fucking 2020, of course.
And then in 4, Michael's back and Loomis is back somehow.
I don't like that one. I don't like that one.
They don't answer that shit. And Michael's mask is always different because they couldn't remake the mask. Like there's such a weird story behind the mask, and we'll get to that later.
Frustrating.
Halloween 2 has an IMDb score of 6.5, which I think is a little generous, and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 32%, which sounds about right. It was a pretty big hit, grossing $25 million on a budget of only $2.5 million, and it was considered one of the better films of the franchise until about 2018. So this movie, Halloween 2, the first thing that weirded me out was the direction Carpenter decided to take the music. I thought it was a little shrill and weird, like off beat or off tempo or something. It just sounded weird. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. And I'm like obsessed with the original theme music. And then of course, I think his best work is the Escape from New York theme or the Assault on Precinct 13 theme. And these are very simple, very easy to understand. Oh, right away you start bobbing your head, dun, da 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 dun, dun, dun. And then this Halloween one, you're right, it is a little off kiltered and kind of throws it off a bit, but I guess that's just what they had to do. That there's so few actual changes, big picture wise, plot wise, that I guess you feel like you have to make that minor change to kind of, I don't know. It is a little frustrating, but I do like the intro. As far as I like the the classic font. I like the the pumpkins, all the jack-o'-lanterns and the knife and all that stuff. All that stuff is fun, but right away it's just dull, like right away.
It is. They do open right after, like right at the end of Halloween, and they reshoot it. They reshoot it a bit. Yeah, it's weird, but
well, yeah, you're kind of fucking with greatness, right? And this thing that happened just 3 years prior. I just have a hard time kind of swallowing that. Like that moment of him leaning forward, of Michael Myers leaning forward when Laurie thinks it's over. No, like that happened. That moment happened, and you need to watch that movie to digest it, not this one. Because that's the finale. That's part of the finale, and I don't like that decision to open your film just like, check out this, and it's a sucker way to get your audience pulled in. But I'm not fooled by it. I think it's silly.
The more I think about the music and how much Carpenter didn't want to do this, the more I think, like, was he trying to sabotage this thing from the inside?
Yeah, he just like barely threw it off. Like, oh, I'm just gonna kind of off kilter this same beat, the same tempo, just kind of
didn't even write
a little niche in there.
Didn't even write a new score. Just like took his current score and just like made it a little bit like louder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then a couple extra notes. That's it.
So another scene I'd like to bring up is when Loomis and Brackett are hunting Michael, and they see some guy in a similar mask just walking on the sidewalk, minding his own business with a trick-or-treat bag.
Yeah.
Which they didn't think, Michael probably isn't trick-or-treating. But Loomis immediately pulls his gun and yells, "Stop!" And the guy just, can't hear them, so he starts walking across the street. And out of fucking nowhere, this cop just barrels into him, dives out of the car, and the car like hits another truck, and the whole thing just bursts into flames. This kid just gets burned alive.
Yeah. and it's not really addressed. And what a waste of money. Holy shit. When I saw that, I was, oh man, when you got a budget, you should pick and choose where you're going to spend your money here. And they spend it on this ridiculous death that doesn't get addressed. What the fuck?
Yeah, look out! Like this cop going 90 in a neighborhood, no reason. And this kid just eats it. Like,
yeah, it's bad.
There's no they're just like, well, it might be Michael, so we better just call it off. And Loomis is like, shouldn't we be sure? And they're like, all right,
I guess. Fuck it.
Worst case scenario, we just murdered an innocent kid, and somebody's gonna have to go tell the family. Best case scenario, we just plowed into a serial killer. It's such a God. I don't even know what else to say. It's just
no. There is nothing to say about that one. That fundamentally is why it just doesn't last.
It's so funny, but it's not supposed to be.
No, exactly. And there's a lot of people, folks who don't appreciate horror, right? And these are the kind of movies that give them the bait. Give them that shit to just be like, see, look how silly this is. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're right.
There is so much evidence in that pile. It's ridiculous.
I know, it sucks. But that's just, comes with it. You put your net out there, and hopefully you get a Halloween 1978 every now and again.
Prospectors panning for gold.
Yeah.
Gold out there.
Don't need to show you those stinking badges.
There is something weird that Michael does in this movie and in the new one. He goes out of his way to avoid killing babies. And I always thought that was odd. Like, I get why the production doesn't want Michael stabbing a baby to death. But in terms of narrative, it is strange that he is like stabbing everybody he encounters, but the babies, he's like, nah.
I can't.
It's too much.
And with that logic, it's like, well, you're gonna kill them later though in Halloween 2018 when they're in high school. So I don't know. I don't know where the logic is there, because he's gonna kill people either way. But like you said, for production companies, they don't want to be like, we're gonna be the movie that has Michael Myers killing sex crazed teens and babies. Like, whoa, that's too far.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of baby deaths in movies, and that's probably a good thing.
That is a good thing. We've talked about, obviously we're desensitized. We've talked about how we don't want to draw lines as fans or as like a movie community. You don't want to say, oh, you can't do this in your movie, especially in horror. You want it to be completely free. But that's definitely something you just you don't bring into play. So hats off to you, Michael Myers. Babies are off. They're off. They're not in play. So good for you, Michael.
I'm just picturing like one of those school assembly meeting videos where he strolls into frame and is like, "Hi, I'm Michael Myers, and I'm here to tell you killing babies is wrong."
Yeah. Shea Serrano, great writer. He has a chapter in one of his books, movies, and other things, and it's a chapter called "The Michael Myers Press Conference." And it's basically shit like this that we're talking about. Just like, oh no, I wouldn't go there. That's too dark.
That's beautiful.
And then like I was feeling it tonight. Had 30 kills. That. So fucking ridiculous. But if you can allow your mind to go there, and most of our listeners, I think, can. That's it is very silly. Michael, which again brings it to the podcast thing for Halloween 2018. The guy doesn't talk.
For like 40 years, he's never said anything, but he's going to talk to you.
Yeah. So there is no podcast. There is no press conference. There is no him, answering question. That's why it's fun to talk about.
You imagine if in 2018, like at the beginning when the guy goes to the hospital to talk to Michael and he pulls out the mask, if Michael had been like, "Hey, I've been looking for that thing for 40
Like,
years. Where'd you get
dude,
that?"
there it is. Good memories. Yeah. And like he gets in a car and play "Let the Good Times Roll."
10
He's,
people in that.
driving back to Haddonfield. All right. Like, Jesus.
My God. Michael is human. So he doesn't talk, but I would give anything to just see him sneeze. Like in a movie, like not in a dramatic way, but like he's chasing somebody, he's walking, it's very scary, and then he just goes like, ugh, and then keeps walking.
Yeah, that's great. Little human things for sure, like sneezing, coughing, anything like that, or like I really gotta piss. Like if Michael Myers had to pee really bad in the middle of, like trying to kill 3 people or something.
Oh my God.
Jesus, man. He's like, well, there's a restroom here, so I just locked the door. What are they gonna do?
But I wanted it to happen where he doesn't say a word. He just goes to the bathroom. You hear a flush. You hear hands washing, and then he just comes out like shaking his hands, and then just continues the pursuit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. You hear stream, washing the hands. Yeah, little towel taps. Oh, maybe that's when the sneeze happens, and he like blows his nose. Yeah. He's just taking some time to kind of be human for a second.
Mic time. Taking some mic time.
But still no talking. Yeah, that would be great.
Oh my God. So I feel bad for anyone out there who has like really been looking forward to a Halloween 2 episode for like a couple years, and we finally do it, and we're talking about Michael Myers taking a piss.
Yeah, well, the movie's not that great,
My God. So what did you think of the therapy bath almost sex scene that results in the woman getting boiled alive?
Rough. I mean, this movie is borderline comical. It's like, all right, what are we doing here? And I also, it would be, now that we're on that path, like his hand must be getting burned in that scene when he keeps putting her head under the water. And I just thought about, God, his hand has to be hurting. My mind actually went there when I was watching the movie. I was like, God, Michael is just a beast. Look at this dude. He's just boom. And his arms at one point, like halfway in the water. And he's just like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Fuel. And then, and then just like, and then just tosses her. Like it's nothing, just boom. Like this guy's not human, man. This is a freak of nature. It is the most brutal scene in the movie, I think. And I don't know. I just don't think it's that frightening with the movie around it and those actors in that scene.
I love Bud just getting like very quickly strangled in the background. Like I've never seen a quicker strangulation. What was that, like 12 seconds?
And zero sound? Like zero.
My God.
Yeah. Okay.
And the fact that, I know it's a horror movie and people act irrationally in horror movies. It's how they die. But you'd think that if you became an EMT, you'd have more sense than that moron. If you're at that point in your life where you are, you're an EMT riding in an ambulance, you're not hooking up in the basement of a hospital in a therapy bath. I don't know. I think they should have made him like an orderly or just like some asshole who wandered into the hospital. Like her boyfriend who doesn't work there, but like came to see her. That would have made more sense.
Yeah.
I did not like Michael communicating at the school. I thought that was very out of character and very stupid.
Oh yeah. I think it's classically one of the worst parts of this movie. Well, or one of the most out of character. Yeah.
Well, he's, writing Sam Hain on the board, which, as we know, because we did the Trick or Treat episode, is pronounced Samhain.
But
he's like pointing, he's stabbing a knife in a picture of his sister and is like, Halloween. Come on. No, that's some Freddy Krueger
some
bullshit. Michael doesn't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's exactly right. That is some Freddy Krueger bullshit, and Michael's the king. I don't want him to do Freddy Krueger bullshit. He's the again. We just talked. He's the Force. I want him to be the Force, not. He's like the guy who just goes off instinct and doesn't have. You have no idea what's going on, and I like that about it.
Yeah.
I hate when they fuck with that over and over throughout the years. It sucks.
Well, making it about like he's compelled to kill his relatives fucked all that up. In the first movie and in 2018, there's no method to the madness. He's on a rampage. It doesn't matter who he's after. He's after everybody. That's what's scary about it.
Yeah, that's what's great. One of the scariest bits in 2018 is that very thing. Is he simply is getting distracted by a potential kill here. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of it, and then I'll go down the street. It's when he kills the friend, the young boy, and puts him on the fence on that kind of like spear looking thing. That's him just like, oh, I got to do this real quick, because it'll make my night go smoother. Like that's how he actually operates, and that's fascinating as a horror fan, more than the writing and like we can watch movies about crazy people and freakazoids and all that, but Michael Myers is a force. We don't know if he's like human or not. He's a force of nature, and taking that away sucks.
Yeah, he's the boogeyman. That's the whole point of the mythos.
Exactly.
Like I loved in the new one where he just gets out, he just escapes the prison bus, and he's wandering through the neighborhood where everyone's trick-or-treating, and he's just like a kid in a candy store, like, who's gonna get it next? Like, where do I go? So many people, so little time.
Some of the best horror scenes of the past 20 fucking years during that bit.
David Gordon Green gets it, man. He gets it.
That guy can direct, no kidding. He's wonderful.
All right, but back to the crap. So, Michael communicating. The weird flashback with Laurie's mom, I thought was very weird and didn't seem like a thing an adopted mother would say.
Yeah, you didn't think it was weird. It is weird.
But just that, like, she would imagine, like, remember that time my mom straight up said to my face, "Laurie, I'm not your mother." What the fuck? Who says that?
That's some shit for a TV show, not a movie. What the fuck? Where you can address that through episodes and seasons. Not what are we doing?
Yeah. I don't remember the situation, but there was a scene where somebody discovered a body, and they recoiled back, and Michael just kind of fades in from shadow.
Yeah.
That was fucking brilliant. I'll give him that. I really thought that looked cool. And that was creepy.
That was nice.
So did you notice that nobody mentions Bud and that nurse again? Like nobody ever thinks like, what happened to that? What happened to them? They've been gone for a while.
Fuck it. Oh my God. I didn't until you brought it up. Jesus.
They get
so many things not addressed.
They get murdered in the basement and they are never mentioned again.
Yeah.
God. I thought it was weird that Laurie could like fake her heart rate or something. Like, remember when they find her like unresponsive and then she just bolts? Like, they checked her pulse and were like, we got to get a doctor. How did she do that? Was she trained in the Himalayas? Like, how did she? You can't just do that. Like, that takes.
Oh yeah. You haven't seen Batman Begins? League of Shadows. She's Ra's al Ghul. Yeah.
That's some League of Shadows, like Navy SEALs, James Bond shit. That
you
can't really just do on a whim. God damn, this movie is so just inconsistent.
It's no cohesion, and it doesn't. There's so many things they don't address that make no sense.
Like Jimmy slipping on the world's biggest puddle of blood and never showing up in the movie again.
Yeah, that's it.
How do you not notice that? You open a door, you see a dead body on a table. You don't. you don't look 2 feet in front of you and see that the floor in there is completely red. You don't see that. It wasn't dark.
That's not the first thing you see when you walk in. Yeah, it's just red. Yeah, come on.
And then you just step in it and your ass slips, and that's the end of you.
Yeah, God. Don't give me that bullshit.
So obviously Loomis comes back in part 4 after being at the epicenter of a giant gas explosion. Thoughts on that?
Obviously, Loomis is also not human, just like Michael Myers, obviously.
Yeah.
And I guess Laurie Strode isn't either, because she can, like you said, fake her heart rate. I don't know. I guess they're all superheroes.
That would explain quite a lot.
That would explain the entire thing, the entire 40 years of madness.
Loomis is just inhuman. Like, yeah, that's hilarious.
He's just Deadpool. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Loomis, again, that part, like, why have that? Why have that? And then having this explosion with the child that you brought up earlier. Why have these here? Why? What's the point of those decisions? You're not. I don't understand who all is working on this screenplay.
Carpenter and Deborah Hill.
Like, just them two. Are we sure?
The major forces behind the first one, but they did have a lot of their decisions vetoed.
Yeah, no, and I knew that because, watching it says their names, and you're like, oh, here we go, these two. I was maybe looking on IMDb if there was a third name, because sometimes they'll put more credit. No, it's just them two that are credited here.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
However, Rick Rosenthal and Carpenter butted heads a lot. Carpenter did not think Rosenthal had the balls to do this. And Rosenthal's like, oh, I'll show you, asshole. And like those two, forces hitting each other just fucked this movie up a lot.
Sucks.
What? Do you remember at the beginning, like a mom and her kid who's like bleeding from the mouth show up at the hospital? And then like she gets...
Oh, yeah.
She gets him some ice and then they go home. What was the point of that?
Well, I don't know. What's the point of a lot of the stuff here? Yeah.
Was that to tell like the real idiots watching this, like, you see, that's a hospital? Because that's the only reason that scene exists, is to let you know, like, see, people get fixed here. I don't understand. Oh God. And I was talking to somebody about this earlier. When Laurie goes into the parking lot and is like, trying to get in a car, and like all the cars in the parking lot have their tires slashed and their gas tanks ripped out. There's a lot of cars in the parking lot. That means that somewhere out there in this movie mythology, there is a scene of Michael Myers just going ape shit on cars in a parking lot. And I would pay anything to watch that footage of Michael just taking knives to tires just constantly, and nobody noticed him.
Yeah. That would be some great footage. And that's perfect for he's just like, on car 10, and then, oh fuck, my shoe's untied, and then gets back to it,
Dude, we need to make a Halloween movie that is all just like the scenes in between the kills of Michael just going from place to place.
I've always liked that, especially with franchises, when there's so much content you can kind of fuck with it. I've always wondered and wanted to do myself a kind of different perspective within Hogwarts. Like, I mean, we're with the fucking chosen one the whole time. I want to be with some normal wizards, maybe some kids who are just in Ravenclaw or something, and they just hang out and just like smoke weed, on Friday nights and try not to get caught by Dumbledore, even though he already fucking knows and is like, oh, I used to do that as a kid. I love stuff like that. So Halloween, same shit. I mean, Michael Myers, that would be great if it was like, oh my God, Michael Myers is a smoker, like in his spare time, he's like,
he's taking smoke breaks.
He's just stressed the fuck out. He doesn't talk, but goddamn, he smokes like a chimney,
What's his brand, you think?
Oh, Winston's. Yeah.
That was very specific. I appreciate the you definitely thought about that.
Yeah, I think about this kind of stuff all the time. I've thought about. I'll just say it, and we don't have to go there. Lord of the Rings. Oh my word. Whew. There's a lot there.
In regards to the Harry Potter thing, I've always wondered about the Muggle-born kids who go there and like instead of shopping at Diagon Alley for magical shit, their parents take them to Target and get them like spiral notebooks and like multicolored pens, and they're there just writing in a composition book. I can imagine they get like sent home for not pleasing the aesthetic. They're just like,
yes, yes.
I am not going to learn how to use a quill pen or carry around 15 feet of parchment when I have a perfectly good notebook right here.
Yeah. That's hilarious. And that would be really funny if you had to get kind of a, took a comedic approach at it, kind of like the In-Betweeners, like a real dry approach at it with some random kids who aren't, again, fucking Harry Potter, the chosen child, who's going to take down Voldemort. Like, I would love to just watch normal kids who are like, fuck, this is hard, and like have to really study and aren't constantly going through these crazy crazy things with dragons and shit, and kids who don't make the Quidditch team. You know what I mean? Like that. I would love that. Personally, I would love that, and I would love to work on it.
They just did something like that with Star Trek.
On
it's an animated show called Star Trek Lower Decks, where it follows the red shirts who just like work in the bottom of the ship and have to deal with the constant crazy bullshit that Kirk and his people are up to.
That's genius. Yeah. To me, that's a great perspective on any massive, big IP title franchise, whatever it may be. I think that's such an interesting perspective. Just the everyday folk who are there,
And what does Michael Myers do like on the 4th of July? Like, and it's not Halloween. Does he do anything?
Yeah. Or is 4th of July also prime time for him? We just haven't seen it in a movie.
How hilarious would it be if it turns out Michael Myers, yes, he loves to kill on Halloween, but he is also like fiercely a patriotic American. He like goes full bore on 4th of July in secret. He puts on like a American flag shirt. He Rambos his face, his mask up, and just like starts cooking hot dogs in his cell. I would watch that.
Fucking A, or like Michael Myers on Christmas, and it's just like, oh, I just want to like give to somebody for once,
God.
What are you thankful for, Michael, on Thanksgiving? Oh, I just got a new set of knives, just silly shit, I would watch the hell out of anything like that.
Is there anything else you wanted to point out about Halloween 2?
As much as, we bashed it and been pretty harsh on it, for the fans that are out there of, this franchise, it's not wrong to go through this franchise and try to watch all of them and whatnot and watch them through Halloween. It certainly has a place. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is there, right? Michael Myers is there. It gives you that brief, energy burst of holy shit, look at these characters. It's just not as good of a film, and that's okay. You're it's very high expectations. I just, for the general fan, just make sure you start with that first one if you haven't.
True. But for the most part, the Halloween franchise, like the worst one is still going to have, Michael slaughtering teenagers. And that's really what it's all about.
And some people aren't looking into it as deeply as you and I are not going to be as hard on it,
Yeah.
They do want to see, just the slash, bam, bam, kill. And that's totally fine.
Some horror movies are just mindless, crazy, bloody bullshit, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Here are some Filmgazm facts for Halloween 2.
Hell yes.
Number 1, the mask that Michael wears is the exact same mask worn in the original 1978 film. It looks different because the paint had faded due to a few reasons. First, because Nick Castle, the original Michael, kept it in his back pocket during shooting. Just folded it up, shoved it in his ass pocket, and was just like, well, when they call action, I'll put it back on.
This is what I'm talking about. Michael Myers folding up his mask and being like, God, I just need a fucking cigarette, and putting it in his back pocket and being like, oh man, and grabbing a soda or whatever, having a beer. Yes, that I would pay a lot of money to see that.
What do you think is his beer?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Now, let's see, where are we at? Illinois, Midwest. I'll say Pabst Blue Ribbon PBR out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'd say that's probably that's a popular Midwest one. I'd say he's not a guy who likes to spend too much, and PBR is rather cheap. So yeah.
I love the way that you have like so weirdly profiled Michael Myers to know his smoke and his beer, but it makes sense to me. Like, yeah, I buy that.
Oh yeah, I think ideal Friday night for Michael Myers is a pack of six, a 6-pack of Tall Boy PBRs and a couple packs of Winstons. Yeah, that would be it right there. That's an ideal Friday night. And and watching some 70 horror flicks. That's what he's doing.
My God, that's beautiful.
He's watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, oh, all right. I see what they're doing there. Yeah.
Chainsaw. I should maybe put it on the list.
Yeah. Ooh. Just straight up hammer. All right.
So Nick Castle kept it in his back pocket, and then Deborah Hill kept the mask under her bed for several years until they filmed Halloween 2. Like this mask wasn't on display anywhere. It wasn't protected. Like nobody gave a shit. And it collected dust, became yellow because Hill was a heavy smoker. And the mask appears a little wider because Dick Warlock is shorter and stockier than Nick Castle, so the mask fit his head a little different. And the producers thought this was going to be the last Michael Myers movie, so they let Dick Warlock keep the mask. And then when they decided to revive Michael in part 4, they realized they made a huge mistake and never again gave props out to the cast and crew because Dick Warlock didn't have a mask anymore. So that's why the mask in every Halloween film looks a little weird and off, is because the original was gone. And then it was found later on. It's in the hands of a collector now.
Yeah.
But it's like nearly disintegrated.
But that's still so cool to have any, a piece of cloth of that thing is cool to have. That thing is legendary.
The most ridiculous story I read regarding the mask came out of Halloween H2O, which had the stupidest title, I thought.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's the one from like the late 90s, correct?
Yeah, that was Jamie Lee Curtis's first return to the role.
Okay, yes, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah. Wee.
So that one, there was a weird thing, like the producers had the rights to the character. They did not have the rights to the mask.
Okay.
So the mask, instead of just paying up, they made a mask that looked kind of like Michael Myers, but like freed them from a lawsuit. So it looked so off. And then the dailies, they were like, yeah, this looks stupid. Let's pay up. So they paid up. They reshot those scenes, except for the ones where they couldn't. So they CGI'd the good mask on top of the old mask, and it looks so bad. This was 1998. Jesus. This was not, this was not Avatar. This was terrible.
1998. My favorite year for horror. Halloween H2O and Psycho, the remake. Yeah.
God. Hey, we got Blade out of it.
Oh yeah, but those two are just,
Number 2, and I thought this was interesting and just unnecessarily sad. The 17-year-old who is hit by the police car and burned alive is Ben Tramer, the girl the guy that Laurie had a crush on in the first movie.
What?
Just for the fuck of it, they killed him.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna get rid of that guy to further her stress and anxiety.
That does not need to be in the movie, but just that they have that, it fucking hurts. Number 3, and this was kind of interesting. Dana Carvey made his movie debut in this movie. He played an assistant. He can be seen receiving instructions from a blonde reporter in front of the Wallace house. He could be seen again at the end of the movie when the film crew follows Laurie to the waiting ambulance. So this was Dana Carvey's first film appearance.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even tell. I couldn't see him.
No. Party on, Wayne.
And number 4, an interview with John Carpenter revealed that the whole Michael and Laurie being brother and sister thing was a consequence of the airing of the original Halloween on television. After NBC had obtained the TV broadcast rights, they contacted him with a request for more footage because the film was too short for the intended time slot. So they're like, you got anything else we could shove into this movie? And Carpenter, who was making little progress on his Halloween 2 script at the time, conceived of the whole hidden family connection inspired by the big twist from Empire Strikes Back. And this twist allowed him to film additional scenes for Halloween, which retroactively dropped hints to the family connection, such as a scene inside Michael Myers' cell where the word sister is carved onto the door. And at the same time, this served as a plot device to get his new script going. He later said, quote, "The brother thing was awful, just awful." Good God. So all that came out of NBC not being able to fill enough time with Halloween. So they're just like, John, come on, give me some more.
Jesus. Exactly. That's why, there's those idiots in the room, not just Hill and Carpenter.
True. I give Halloween to 7. Nothing special. Doesn't bring anything new to the table, but it doesn't suck. It is watchable. And yeah, I've seen it like 3 times now, and I'll probably watch it again at some point.
Yeah, at some point, right? I own it. You own it. It's there. I'll give it a 6 for now. It's it's just redundant, and there's not a lot of cohesion. But it is, when you are a big Halloween fan, which obviously we are, it is fun occasionally to go down one of these wacky roads, and it kind of creates a more fun conversation. Whereas talking about Halloween 1978 you're talking about a borderline masterpiece there. So
yeah,
totally different conversation.
Dude, I love shitting on bad movies. Like, that's half the fun of doing this podcast.
Yeah, this one's not even like you said, not bad. It's just not good.
It's worse. So to close out today's episode, since it's so close to Halloween, we thought it'd be fun to talk about some of our Halloween season film favorites that we watch every October, mainstays we always bring to the table. And let's get going. So every Halloween, like, what do you like to put on?
It's such a fascinating conversation to me. I love asking people what their kind of personal rotation is, because obviously Halloween is an undisputed classic, whatever fucking month it is. So that's of course there. But personally, ones that I think maybe would resonate with some listeners, or maybe even you, would be some animated stuff like Monster House 2006. And that's Dan Harmon, screenplay. Yeah. Obviously, he's gone on to do some cool stuff. And then Nightmare Before Christmas, I adore. I always watch that right in between, Halloween and Christmas. I usually try to watch it sometime in November. And I think it just fits with the, fall and winter so well. And a weird one would be Donnie Darko 2001. I know it's not really a horror movie or really a Halloween oriented movie, but there is a really kick-ass Halloween party towards the end of the film, and a really important part of the film. And Joy Division is playing, one of my favorite 80s bands, and Love Will Tear Us Apart is playing, and he has this moment of like, holy shit, I know what's going on. We got to go to Grandma Death's house, and it's one of those moments in movies that I'll never forget, because I saw it at a young age, and it still sticks with me. And it just always comes back around to me in October. And those are the ones that you kind of get attached to, right? But I would say I really love the kind of kid stuff. That's the stuff that has stuck with me since I was a kid. And Monster House and Nightmare Before Christmas are kind of at the top of that list.
Nice. Very nice. That makes sense. Cool.
Any animated for you besides those two? Like, what else? Is there anything that stands out? Any like more kiddish stuff? Like Paranorman's really good. I love Frankenweenie. Corpse Bride. Any of that stuff?
I tend to go darker. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I love Monster House. Those are probably the two animated stuff that I bring into the rotation.
Yeah.
Tim Burton is a big director who comes up around this time for me. One of my mainstays has always been Beetlejuice.
Oh, I thought you meant darker for animated. I was like, what do you have? Yeah, I want to know.
No, you can't go quite darker animated wise than Monster House.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Maybe I haven't seen these. Oh
But,
yeah, for sure. Beetlejuice is good call.
That's a favorite. That's always been a favorite. It's that perfect, quirky, undead comedy bordering on horror thing that I always liked.
I mean, and Keaton, come on.
Oh,
at his abs, to me, he has two peaks, and it's right there, late 80s, early 90s, and then it's like now.
Oh, hell yeah. If we're keeping in Burton, Sleepy Hollow is one I go to around this time of year. That's a favorite. Sweeney Todd, which I actually watched earlier tonight.
Oh yeah.
Outside of Burton, one that I always watch, mostly because my family really has always loved it, so I've always kind of associated this movie with my family, is Practical Magic.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like it'd be in my wheelhouse, but I actually really like that movie.
Those are the fun ones, though, right? That you just kind of like speak to. Obviously, Fright Night.
Obviously, yeah. Of course, Fright Night. We planned it for this October because it's one of my all-time favorites. So that's always, I watch that movie a lot.
Yeah. Any like recent movies, maybe from 2017, 18, 19, that have broken into that kind of, or maybe they could get there one day?
Outside of the 2018 Halloween movie, not really.
Hereditary is for every month. And that's kind of how I feel about all of these awesome horror movies. Get Out, Hereditary, The Lighthouse, The Witch. These movies I can watch at any time, really.
See, I have a very distinct difference between just horror movies and then Halloween movies.
Exactly, and that's why I like bringing it up, because I certainly don't watch Monster House throughout the year. Yeah. It's usually just October.
Like, for example, some horror movies that I bring into my Halloween rotation every year, Shaun of the Dead is a big one.
Okay.
Because that's, not everybody in my family likes horror movies, and I tend to be put in charge of the entertainment around October. So I, kind of pick stuff for the family to watch. And Shaun of the Dead hits all those, marks. It's not too scary. It's funny. It's entertaining. So everybody can kind of get a piece of that.
Yes.
And another one that goes right in that vein is Young Frankenstein.
Oh, Lord. I knew. Yeah, I was waiting. 1974, absolute gem.
I know this is going to divide the crowd because a lot of people hate this movie, but I don't give a shit because I have loved this movie my whole life. Van Helsing.
Yes. God, we have to. Wait. Is that that's in the book, right?
Of course.
Okay. I was making sure you weren't, because I know you and I enjoy it, but there are a lot of people who hate it.
I know.
There are a lot of people who hate it. And I would kind of like to clear the air on that just to get it out there that, hey, we actually find some ways to enjoy this one.
The worst crime a film can commit is to be boring. And Van Helsing is not boring. That movie is very entertaining. I think it's very creative. I think it gets a lot of unjust hate.
Yes. That's right.
Twilight Zone, the movie.
Okay.
That one is mostly in the rotation because of my grandpa, huge Twilight Zone fan. And I've watched that movie a lot, and it is very, very good. The Twilight Zone movie is so underrated. And it mostly gets, a stigma because of the accident that happened.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we do that movie, which is definitely going to happen someday.
Yes.
But these are just some of the, classics that I like to put on for the family around Halloween. American Werewolf in London, Ghostbusters, Hocus Pocus, The Monster Squad, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. These are just stuff that my whole family's watched repeatedly every year. And these are always going to be on the list.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love that. I adore that your family has kind of found that'll kind of always be a tradition for you guys. Whereas, I grew up going to private school and church throughout, elementary, middle school, and high school. So Halloween is not something you celebrate. For instance, we talked about Harry Potter earlier. At the school I went to, one of my very best friends, he was reading Harry Potter, and it got taken away from him by a teacher there. So this is, there's very fine lines, and so that wasn't really a thing growing up, right? Was like, oh, let's find movies to watch throughout October, which is why I resorted to films like fucking Halloween Town as a kid, because that's what's on Disney Channel, and that's what I'm able to watch, allowed to watch. So I've had to find it on my own as far as this month goes. My parents have done a great job of exposing me to dramatic movies and all kinds of kind of classic actors, But when it comes to horror, I've really had to do the work on my own and create this rotation on my own. So that's why I'll say animated movies are the ones you're going to see in my personal stuff, because that's what I've always been allowed to see during October. So that's what's kind of stuck there,
Yeah.
Because I think you're like me, where it takes a while for a movie to just break through a rotation and become a movie that you're just going to, I'm all of a sudden, I'm just going to watch this every October. Of course, Halloween 2018 is different because it's, a classic, and it's a part of that 1978 jam. So, but it's difficult. It's very difficult to break that. And again, I think Monster House, Frankenweenie, Nightmare Before Christmas, and like Paranorman, those are the ones that I would shout out.
To put things in perspective and how we do things at the house, I'd like to read to you a chart I've been keeping track of. I'm doing this thing called the 31 Days of Halloween.
Yes.
And we've been watching a different spooky Halloween related movie every day of the month. And we're up to 27. And I'd like to read to you the 27 films that we have done, or 26 that we have done as of today, October 26th.
This is you, your mom, and your grandparents, correct?
Yep. Some just me and my mom, some just me and my grandparents, but always me.
You're always there.
I'm always there. I have nowhere to go. So
no
here's the movie. October 1st, Shaun of the Dead. October 2nd, Army of Darkness.
Hell yeah.
October 3rd, Death Becomes Her. October 4th, Monster House. October 5th, Blade 2. October 6th, Young Frankenstein. October 7th, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. October 8th, Misery. October 9th, Extraordinary. October 10th, The Silence of the Lambs. October 11th, Hannibal. October 12th, Blade Trinity. October 13th, The Sixth Sense. October 14th, Anaconda. October 15th, Little Monsters. October 16th, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. October 17th, Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments Countdown. Can't miss that one in October. October 18th, Fright Night. October 19th, Hush. October 20th, The Fly. October 21st, The Monster Squad. October 22nd, Fright Night the Remake. October 23rd, 1408. October 24th, Practical Magic. October 25th, Halloween 2. October 26th, Sweeney Todd.
Hell yeah.
Got 5 more.
That's awesome.
We got some hammers. I've been waiting for the home stretch to do some hammers. And we did start a little early in September. That's why American Werewolf and Beetlejuice aren't there. So,
yeah. 2 classics.
Yeah, that's how seriously we take Halloween at my house.
Yeah. That's I love that. I respect that so much. I think it's great.
That's great. That was fun. And definitely, there'll be stuff we all add to the rotation over the years. Next year, who knows what the rotation will be.
Yeah. We just know that Season of the Witch will be there for the podcast.
I'm the only one in my house who hates that movie.
Sean Fennessy, I've shouted him out a few times, host of The Big Picture, just put that on a recommendation list recently, and I just don't understand it. Whatever. I'll wait till next year to watch it.
Yeah. Stonehenge, masks, magic, druids, robots. That's all I'll say. Thanks for listening, guys and gals. If you enjoy this podcast, you want to see it evolve, feel free to donate anything you want to us. Every little bit goes right back into the show. It helps us make the show better. If you want to donate, head to the Filmgazm podcast page on whatever your platform is. Click on support this podcast in the description. Thank you for your patronage, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we are staying in the slasher film subgenre with a film I have never seen before. It's Filmgazm contributor Caleb Leger's personal film pick, but since he is currently unavailable, I will be recording next week with Filmgazm frequent flyer Josh Allred for 2006's Hatchet, a horror cult classic that introduced horror fans to modern-day slasher titan Victor Crowley. And like I said, I have never seen it before. Sure to be a riot. But
I've never seen it either. So I'm gonna check it out and listen to you guys, hear your guys' thoughts.
Hell yeah. And if you do need your weekly fix of Austin's voice, you can find it on Oscar Sunday, where we will be doing 2006's Borat and showcasing a bit of Sacha Baron Cohen's career.
Very nice.
Don't miss Hatchet next week. And don't forget that it's maybe not a good idea to get down and dirty in a hospital therapy bath, especially when there's a psycho killer on the loose in town and his only survivor is in a room upstairs.
Yes.
See you next Wednesday.